All right, welcome into the Daily Fix every day at this time, 12 Central Standard Time. I am your host, Ron Hughley, right there in that little box where he rightfully belongs, fresh off of getting his ass hit by a car. There he is, Steve Serta in the building. Hello, Steve.
Hi.
You playing hurt? You all right?
Yes,
Good.
my wrist is quite sore, but I think I'm okay.
All right, well, have to switch hands this week then with that sore wrist. I would also like to say, I don't want to go too much on this. Obviously we have a limited time on the Daily Fix. But if you hit somebody with the car, like on foot, if you hit someone with a car, the first thing that you do when you get out is you've got to check and make sure the person's completely okay, and not go off into trying to defend yourself or saying what you think the person you hit on foot in the car should have done. So I just want to first thing, now maybe later on after, but the first thing you got to do is, good Lord, sir, are you all right? Are you okay? Not, you should have been on the crosswalk. You can't do that. So let's, just a lesson out there. We teach lessons here on the Daily Fix. I'm not saying that's what happened to Steve, but I'm just saying, it's a lesson. If you ever hit somebody with a car on foot, check on them first and then berate them for whatever it is that you feel like you should do. Again, share, let folks know every day the Daily Fix. And if you have not done so already, please head to our YouTube page, like and subscribe, Foolish Club Media, as we continue to try to grow this thing. It would help us out a lot if you liked and subscribe. And remember, if you do not do so, you are preventing my 3 children from eating. All right, not going to hold you too long. This right here, this is the number one sports narrative that I absolutely hate. And you've heard me talk about several narratives this year. This is the number one sports narrative I hate in 2024. Second, hey man, I know we have done this with this team before because they always have a fraudulent quarterback. But damn it, them damn Minnesota Vikings. We got to discuss them because them jokers might be for real. Them jokers might be for real. But let's start here. The news with the Chiefs as they head into week 18. We know they had that 3 games in 10, 11-day stretch. They took some nicks. Obviously, Mahomes got hurt at the very start of it. Chris Jones got hurt at the very end of it. Chris Jones missed the game. They've got some other guys that are getting back, some other guys they haven't got on. So at 15-1, Steve, they have decided, as we've already been reported, they're going to rest their key starters and key players. Right, sort of that would be obviously Mahomes, Kelsey. Hell, to me, Joe Tooney falls into that. Creed Humphrey probably falls into that. I'd say all them other jokers probably could stand to get some reps. Maybe Trey Smith doesn't play. Jawan Taylor had a knee going into the Steelers game. You could see him probably sitting down, right? I'm guessing Worthy, the top threats out there, probably not going to be there. Chris Jones, probably Karlaftis, Nick Bolton, who has kind of had some nicks here as well. Certain guys probably won't go. And so it'll be Carson Wentz and the Carsonettes trying to get this thing in. And I'm not going to lie to you, Serta. I'm going to say right now, this is the right decision, right? And they've done it before. Obviously, they've had first and 2 seeds throughout this whole run. So they've had buys almost every year. And they have done this. This is, I think, in 2020, they set everybody against the Chargers, and they had a long break, and they got to the Super Bowl that year. So they have done this before. But I'm not going to lie to you, Steve. I care more about 16-1 than I should. I know they're 15-1, and even if they lose to the Broncos, who absolutely need the game, but 15-2 to great record, obviously. But 16-1, I mean, that's right. That would tie the Patriots for the most wins in a regular season. 16-1, and you're just looking for any kind of things that you can do, Steve, to show that, hey, man, we are separating ourselves from other. I care about it. I hope they get it. I'm not saying I care so much that they need to play. I was hoping maybe they get a quarter, maybe a half or so. But I ain't gonna lie to you. 16-1 has a different feel than 15-2. And I know that maybe sounds stupid, but I just like last year, I cared about 11-6 versus 10-7. Just feels different when they went to that game as the Chargers. Like, I don't know. 16-1 sounds like a really great regular season. Not that 15-2 isn't, but 16-1 is something else.
I don't disagree with you. It does sound nice. Like finishing a regular season with one loss on the year and the best record in the NFL. Like that's something to strive for. And it makes you feel good ahead of the playoffs. But we've seen the Chiefs get things done with backups before in week 18. So they're going to have a good game plan. But the Broncos have to have it. And so I don't think you should play starters by any means, but 16-1 would make you feel good ahead of the playoffs.
Listen, as I said, I know it's the right decision. I'm just telling you, something about winning 22 of 23 in like a year span, something like in a calendar year, winning all but one of your games, playoffs and everything. It's something about that is cool. 16-1. So, like I said, I hope Carson and them like do it. That 1 year where they set everybody and we got introduced to Pat for the first time against Denver. Did the Chiefs win that game?
Yes,
all I remember
they
was
did.
Did they? All I remember
they pulled him and put in the backup or the other backup, whoever it was at that point. I don't remember who.
He's not important, clearly.
He was terrible and they were about to lose the game. So they put Pat back in and he led him down the field for a game-winning field goal, I believe.
So, yeah, they can get it done. You hope it is. That's a smart move. But yeah, man, I hope they get it. 16-1 just has a special ring to it. All right. Listen, this team historically, no one gives them credit. I know you and BK were really bad on it and ended up being right in those Kirk Cousins years. But, dude, as I'm just talking about the Chiefs going 16-1, sir, the Minnesota Vikings are 14-2. They are 14-2 in what is arguably the toughest division in football with the Lions and the Packers. Now, the Bears stink, but the Lions and the Packers, they are 14-2 with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. And I still believe people don't believe in them. I think you sitting right there. I don't think you believe in them right now. And listen, I know I'm skeptical too because it is hard for me to say Sam Darnold's going to roll through and lead this thing. But damn it, every one of his numbers scream and say Sam Darnold's capable of doing this. I know what he's done especially what he's done this year. I mean, he's in the mid-30s in touchdowns, right? He's got to be second or third in yards. Yesterday, he went head-to-head against Jordan Love, who everybody loves, and the Packers, who everybody believes is a real Super Bowl contender. He just went through and swept them and outplayed Jordan Love for the second straight time, right? Like, they're playing for the number one seed next week. It is wild how they've got to feel like the Chiefs a bit. Almost just really disrespected by the media and not taken like the Chiefs in a different way feel disrespected. The Vikings just aren't even taken serious, and they just keep doing nothing but winning, putting up numbers. They've got a great skill set crew. Brian Flores is about to force himself to get a job, even though he sued the league, and that's usually not a good sign to getting a job. I mean, they are for real, I think. Now, I don't know if they're going to get to the Super Bowl or anything, but I don't care what you say. The Minnesota Vikings are for real. This is not like the Kirk Cousins days. They have Sam Darnold make serious throws, and he is doing it.
Now, they're really good, and their skill position players are amazing, and their offensive line's really good, and that's after they lost Christian Darrisaw, who's one of the best tackles in the NFL. So they go out and trade for Cam Robinson, who is still serviceable, trying to fill in for one of the best tackles in the league. And they're
But
one of the
it
best.
hasn't been a problem though. Like, it hadn't
Yeah,
been anything that
it's
stands out.
they're one of the best offenses in football, and they test you downfield more than any other passing attack in the league this year. And the only reason they're being discredited is because everybody's like, well, Sam Darnold, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, but can he do it in the playoffs? We don't believe it until we see it. And he's been incredible, and their defense is really good. Like, they're just a really well-coached, really talented football team that does certainly deserve more respect.
But see, my argument with that is, and why I feel like the Vikings are for real, is unlike the AFC, like there's no mutants on the other on that side that he has to really go up against. Like, I think Russ is playing pretty good football. It's kind of tapered off a bit, but I think Russ is playing pretty good football if we compare them on each side. But Russ got to go through Lamar. He got to go through Mahomes. He got to go through Allen. Like, those are mutants. Over on that side, when you say Sam Darnold, can he hold up his end of the bargain against Jared Goff? I'm like, yeah. Can he hold up his end of the bargain against Jalen Hurts? I'm like, yeah. And we watched him. He has outplayed Jordan Love twice this year already. Can he hold it up against Jaden Daniels? And yes. So there's no all-time great quarterback, in his path in the NFC. So that's why for me, I take them a lot more serious. Like, it's hard for me to see them getting bounced at home by a Daniel Jones-led New York Giants team that did them in the last time they had a really gaudy record like this. It's hard for me to see that happen. So, but like I said, next week they play for the road running through US Bank Stadium, which is a hell of a place to play. All right, I want to end here. This Cincinnati Bengals narrative, for me, it's the most annoying sports narrative of the year. And there have been a lot of them. Like, what's wrong with the 16 and 15 and 1 Chiefs every week? All of this stuff. But this deal, Steve, of nobody in the AFC wants Cincinnati to make it. The Chiefs, the Bills, oh no, they don't want to see the Bengals. Everybody's rooting for the Broncos to play. That's partly why the Chiefs aren't playing their starters, to make sure Cincinnati doesn't make it. Cincinnati, Steve, is a team that has some great players on it, but are not a good football team. They're not. They're not a good football team. And look, I'm not saying that they couldn't get in and make it a game or do some things that that could make the game tighter maybe than others. But Steve, they have played 7 games in which teams are locked into the playoffs. They've played 7 games against teams that are currently locked into the playoffs. They're 0-7, Steve. They've lost every last one of them. They've lost all of them. Some of them have been tight, but the Bengals do a lot of stupid things, and they tried to do it against the Broncos. The Broncos just didn't take advantage of it. They do a lot of stupid things that gets them hurt. Like, everybody talks about, yes, Burrow, whatever. Yes, and Burrow is cold-blooded, and Jamar Chase is cold-blooded, and Higgins is starting to come along. But, I mean, I bet everybody would love to get their hands on that defense. I mean, they had a fight with the damn Cowboys in one of these games to win it. In their little win streak, they've beaten the Titans, which that game was tighter than it should have been. They've beaten the Cowboys. They beat the Browns. And now they just escaped against the Broncos at home. Right? Listen, I'm not saying that they couldn't jump up and beat somebody. We've seen them play tight games. But, man, let's calm down on all the AFC teams. In particular, the top AFC teams are just scared to death of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, too, because it's completely ignoring the body of work that the Bengals have put on the field this season. Like, this isn't a team that, struggled early in the season and now they're turning things on midway. We're heading into week 18. And they're lucky that they're even still alive for the playoffs because of the way things are so bad at the bottom of the AFC. And their defense is one of the worst defenses in football. So this idea that the Chiefs of all teams are scared of Cincinnati to get in is
hey, the Bills don't want them to get the 7th seed because they'll have to.
Yeah, like you're telling me everything that we've seen from this Bengals defense this season. You're telling me that the Bills are afraid to play Cincinnati, that the Bills don't think they could go out there and drop 35 on that defense, or that even if somehow Cincinnati does pull off a massive upset and somehow see the Chiefs in the postseason, the Chiefs wouldn't be thrilled about that matchup over playing the Bills or the Ravens or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Here are their last few wins. At Giants, 17-7. At Browns, 21-24. They got trounced by the Eagles. They beat the Raiders 41-24. They lost to the Ravens, Chargers, and Steelers all in a row. They gave up 44 to that Pittsburgh offense we just saw play the Chiefs. Then they beat the Cowboys by a score. They beat the Titans by 10, and then the Browns, and then they just won in overtime against the Broncos. Like, let's calm down on this, right? They've got some great players that can make plays, but let's, like, the fear thing. Come on, hi Mom and Courtney.